Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGillivray, and as always, I'm joined by Simon Stacey and Jess Kettle. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. Before we get going, just a normal bit of housekeeping to remind everyone to like and subscribe to us on the various platforms where you get your podcast from, so you can get our content ASAP. How you both doing?
Yeah, good thinking, mate.
Good, thank you.
Good. It's a bit of a good game of the weekend, wasn't it? I mean, I'll be honest, right? I was heavily emotionally involved in the game because of a bet I put on that would have done very well off very little, and it almost came in if we'd won. If we'd have won, I would have won a 72-1 bet.
Blooming hell.
With 20 quid on it.
Wow.
Johnny Wyman scored first and win. What it was, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I'm not giving advice on what to bet on, but our scrum halves, we start very quickly, and our scrum halves score a disproportionate amount of our tries. So it's one I've played every year, and I've done well out of it. And that one would have been exceptional because I don't think the bookies know who Johnny Wyman is.
Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah, well, we weren't. We were 2-1 to win the game.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
let's move on from gambling.
Yeah, we're not promoting gambling in any ways, but what it meant is what a sort of deadheader of a game turned into quite a emotional roller coaster for me.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't good to be on the end of it this time, though. We've done that to many teams this year, but okay, it was a tit for tat when it was end to end, and yeah, I don't begrudge them a win. They didn't get into eighth, though, did they? It didn't even help them, so
No,
in the end, it was
no one benefited from that. Yeah.
No.
But to be fair, they played like they might be able to. Like that, they went into it, did they, thinking that? I mean, it was a possibility until half time when they saw the Gloucester Newcastle score and thought, no, okay, it's not a possibility realistically anymore. But you know, I should imagine they. Well, I don't know for sure, but you'd like to hope that they weren't told, because you don't want to affect a game like that at half time. So you'd like to think that, you know, you don't tell them and you go out expecting that you can still get eighth. And like I said, they played for it, like they did have something to play for, sort of compared to us on the opposite side. But then I think that just made for a really good game. I really enjoyed it. There's lots of sort of naysayers and doom and gloomers online, but I was really entertained for 80 minutes, to be fair, to both sides.
Yeah, I think at this time of year, you know, you're always going to get emotional drivers in a fixture anyway. You know, so yes, their game, the likelihood of them actually achieving anything further in the league was not there. But, you know, there's a number of leavers within that squad. Nick Evans is leaving. You know, there's a whole huge of emotional just to try and send players off with, you know, the best outcome. And it's the end of season party for them, isn't it? So you don't want to do it on a sour note of a loss. So, you know, it's all it's sort of the league. Yes, it's a motivator, but there are lots of human factors that motivate as well. And I think we've seen throughout this season, league points are incredibly motivational, but actually sometimes when potentially the pressure's off a bit in terms of we're expected to win and whatever it may be, you know, we've emotionally not been quite at the races on a number of fixtures this year. So like league points are only what they are. You know, that you've got to have buy-in from something, haven't you? And I think Dawson's quite good at framing the week to something, and some weeks when obviously the framing of that week's not as strong as others, I think you see the consequences in the performance sometimes.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that even happened for like this game. I think sort of emotionally, physically, they were there. They were obviously kind of invested, right? Like they definitely wanted it. It's just like you mentioned, like on Quin's side, you had a team that, you know, don't want to end, like you said, never want to end your last home game on a loss when you've got levers, and like some big levers going, right? You know, someone who's been at your club for nearly 2 decades, and some big players going too. And it was one of their leaving players that scored the try at the end, right, to get them the win. So you can't really begrudge them that. But I don't know. There's a lot of there are. I wasn't saying that you were suggesting that for this game. You're right about other fixtures, but I think that's kind of why I was impressed over the weekend, despite the loss. Is I actually felt like that team on Saturday really did show up. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely some, and we'll talk about, you know, there were some, I don't want to say that there weren't some big glaring issues like with aspects of the game. There definitely were, but I don't think anyone can really kind of fault the desire of that team. It's just like you said, you've got a 23 that for a lot of them they've not played for a while, or they've not played with each other, or they've been playing in the champ for quite a lot. But that's no disrespect to the champ, but the Prem is, a bit of a step up, that so they haven't played necessarily at that level for a long time. And actually I think to stick in it and be, almost basically drawing the game right up until sort of right at the end was actually a pretty good result for like
Yeah.
79 and a half minutes or however long it
Yeah,
was
I
until
wasn't
just the end.
suggesting that the result
No,
was
no,
anything
definitely,
to
yeah.
do with our motivation or their motivation.
Yeah.
I think, but like you say, both teams were highly motivated and performed
Yeah.
in the game. Like I think, but that part of the reason why Saints had the ability to perform, because the league was irrelevant, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
that could have been a complete wipe over from Saints, but because you had a lot of individual probably needs, a lot of players wanted to put their sort of their foot in the door in terms of selection for semi-final, or getting an opportunity when they haven't had opportunities this year. There was a huge motivation actually in that Saints side. Whereas if we'd sent the first, the quote unquote first team, there probably wouldn't have been. Like it was, and that's why it led to, like you said, a really good cracking game of rugby. Really,
Yeah.
if they'd have played, if that team had played together as often as the Quins team had played together, I would have imagined they could have turned them over. Like you said, there's a few bits and pieces where a bit clunky because it's not the out and out team that plays every week. It's a team that plays in training every week, and that helps because you're playing against the best team in the league every week, but you're not doing it under the pressure of an actual fixture.
Yeah,
of course, yeah. But you've got to admit, the DNA was still there. Some of those tries were still quality tries, weren't they? You know what I mean? And I think Toby Tame's been
every
watching
single one of them.
PJ's kicking.
But
Lovely finish there.
Yeah. No, I'd say all 5 of them were really, really good. Like really solid to watch, like in terms of the way they worked them through. Like for different reasons as well. It's like, it wasn't like every single try was the same. Like they were all quite different from each other, but all really well worked for different reasons. Yeah, like you said, the DNA for that perspective was definitely still there. And I think you're right. Like, if you'd had your sort of McParlands, your Tommies, your Finns playing, like as much as like a lot of them will claim, oh, we only think one game at a time. There's no way they don't have a mind on not wanting to injure themselves for the week after. I guarantee it would have, like, not consciously, probably like unconsciously, subconsciously, but you could imagine it probably would affect it. Whereas I think realistically, outside of maybe a few positions, some of the members of that team probably know that they're not necessarily going to be involved next week. So you really can like throw yourself at it in like a different way. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought it was a good game. There seemed to be a lot of kind of comments online of like, "Oh, this is terrible prep for Friday, etc." And I was like, "Well, a lot of those players aren't going to be involved. Being realistic. Like some will, a decent amount will, but I'm not sure they viewed that fixture as this is going to prep us for Friday night."
You're not going to get your prep playing Harlequins away on the last game of the season, like ahead of what is now we know to be an East Midlands derby at home on Friday night. Like, they don't need that prep. They need the right mental, the right physical prep through a week of training to go into that fixture, because that Tigers fixture is going to be a very different fixture to the Quins away, right? But what you do get is a whole host of players going out there, getting minutes into them to try and put the hand up. Like, I don't think anyone on the pitch really is not got an opportunity to play. I mean, yes, you could say, because you don't know who gets injured in the week and stuff as well. But I think there might be a few players who are maybe third, fourth choice, and it's very, very, very unlikely that they're going to play. But if and then you also get, say, I'm touching pieces of wood here and everything, but say Finn goes down injured in training tomorrow morning, right? The squad the coaches have a selection decision: do they go Bellew or Furbank? And that decision will be based on how well the likes of Bellew played in the Quins game, but also how well someone like Ram played, because it might be that you play Ram at 15. So it is influencing selection, because we don't know what's going to happen between now and Friday afternoon, and
100%, yeah.
And there might be 50-50s. I mean, the centres. Can we honestly say we know that 2 are nailed on? I don't think we can. I think 3 are really vying for those at the centres. Can we really say who's vying for that 14, 11, one of the wing slots? Tommy's got one. Can we really guarantee it's Hendy or Ram? One of them. It's like there's lots of permutations from that performance, and I think they all did themselves pretty proud. I think some of them. I think there was maybe a few tackles where players slipped off. Potentially, which doesn't help people's cases. When when the pressure goes up, if you've got to be able to trust people to make the hits, haven't you? And so maybe that might put a doubt in a few of them, but minutes on the board is all you can ask for.
The thing is, though, Quin showed up, didn't they? That's the thing. Same as like Gloss last time. They didn't look like a side that were ninth and playing absolutely awful rugby. They actually showed up, but like you said, it's the last game of the season, so they're gonna they give us a good game, and like you said, it's gonna work those boys out. But I can't see there's gonna be many changes from the first 15 that we would pick. I wouldn't have thought. The team's probably picked itself, hasn't it? I would have thought it would have been nice to see Furbank there though, just to show him, just to see if he could have done something to go to his new. Just to rub it in, maybe score the last minute winner.
Yeah,
that's the thing though. Sorry.
Yeah, so we mentioned it last week, didn't we? We sort of talked about which of the players that are definitely not playing, and you pretty much had like 9, 10, Pollock, Tommy, and Ferbs were probably never going to be featuring unless like something has happened and like you need to chuck someone in, and even then I'm not convinced they would anyway. But I think I do feel like the 23 in most places was probably already fairly set. Like, no, maybe not like the 15 specifically, but certainly like the 23 is probably not going to be too far off of like what we would expect. But I feel like there were some key questions that they probably wanted to get an answer to. I suppose predominantly it's like, who's your backup 9? Like, McParland at that point feels like the obvious choice, but I think Wyman's performance in that game was exceptional, that he's probably thrown a proper spanner in the works of really who do we go for? Do we go for, because I thought that was, bearing in mind he played 2 positions in that game and I didn't let up at any point, right? 9 pushed out to wing. Amazing interception for the try.
Amazing interception, but I'm not. I think if Johnny Wyman's on the wing in the semi-final, we're somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. But then I suppose they've got a real question mark now. Do we go with, because like McParland is the 9, is our 21 or whatever number they were. They have changed so much these days, but is our replacement going to be the guy that put in a really good performance, or are you going to go for Tom James in terms of experience and having played in fixtures like that before? Like, that's actually a genuinely hard decision, and I don't know if they'll necessarily be any nearer to the answer after kind of what Wyman put in at the weekend. Like, they really could go either way, and I don't think it would be bad either way.
Yeah,
but then also you feel like, sorry, you go.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to, but let's go through some of those debatable questions. 9 is an obvious one. Like you say, Archie's that guaranteed, and James or Wyman is probably the discussion point. But as you say, Wyman was excellent. Some of his kicking out of hand or from the base is exceptional. So I think there is an actual outcome from that game saying Wyman has probably, got himself a bench spot because of the performance against Quins, where if they hadn't have played that game, it would have been very safe to go with, let's go with the experience of James. But, James has been brilliant. Put him.
Well, match fit. James has been injured a lot, so he hasn't really had a lot of game time. So I'm fit. She'd pick Wyman as well, I would say.
Yeah, because he's played a few minutes for Bedford as well, whereas James has just had no rugby, has he? So, yeah. And then you start thinking, if we start in the front and work our way back, I think Landon getting minutes probably confirms that he's probably ready to go and is going to start.
Because obviously another injury.
I know, when he went off, and I knew he was going off. Like, obviously, I saw the cut and I thought, hopefully it's just like a cut and not like a HIA. And obviously everything was fine and he came back on. But the guy's been through the wars. Like, that guy is like,
scratch.
He's like a warrior, is he? Like, there was a photo of him afterwards with like a horrible stitch job that they've obviously had to just do quickly to get that fixed. It's a horrible stitch job lesson, but
he's
also
like
going to get that fixed. But
he's like the knight from Monty Python, isn't he?
That's what I meant. Tis but a scratch. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Tis but a scratch.
And then he came back on, but he was really good, considering we didn't obviously have Coles, who would obviously also being protected for obvious reasons. Like, that line out actually functioned really well, probably the best it's functioned for quite a while. I think we missed one, but it helps that we had sort of 4 different lineup jumpers on the pitch at any one time.
Yeah.
So you have variety, right? So we had Pearson on the pitch, and we Kemeny on the pitch. Multiple
Kevin,
different kind of people giving you options. So
Chicken
that
and
that
Lockett, yeah.
yeah, Chick as well, Chick and Lockett as jumpers too. That definitely helped. But yeah, it really does. This isn't like any criticism of the others that have stepped up. What Langdon has been away, but like you said, that performance does kind of show you sort of what you're missing when he's not available, and just how good he is, and the fact he played a really good chunk of minutes. Like you said, yeah, hopefully would demonstrate that he's kind of ready and raring to go. Because that probably was one of the question marks, wasn't it? Of like, we seem to have this weird thing at Saints where you can disappear for a chunk of time with an injury, like a Coles or a Ferbs, and come back like nothing happened. But we can't actually expect that would necessarily be the case for everyone. But maybe Langdon is another one to add to that list of people that just comes back like he's never been away and is ready and raring to go.
Yeah, and I think in the front row there's still a selection. I mean, it seems like Luke Green seems to have the sort of the jersey maybe, but the scrum went really well
Yeah.
against Quins, and Cleopas. I mean, he's a bit of a beast, isn't he? I mean, the prospect there's a huge
Yeah.
potential there, and he doesn't look out of place.
No, he reminds me of Muge. He reminds me of Muge. I'd pick him ahead of Green personally. I just think his scrummage is better because he's just a bigger. I'm not big because Luke Green's massive, but you know what I mean. It's just tight head build. He just looks a bit bigger.
Yeah. I sort of agree. I think it's a big step up for him, and you think then Elliot Miller-Mills is sort of in amongst it. And to be fair, Tonga Weir had a good end to the game. He scrummed very well. We were dominant when he came on, but you wouldn't imagine he's going to be in selection. But I think tight head's still a really interesting call. It's one of those ones where without Big Trev, it is a horses for courses and form and a real tricky selection one. But I think Cleopas, I would pick him. I think with Miller-Mills probably off the bench, even though Luke Green's sort of got a bit of form and gone all right. So I don't know. That's a really interesting call, I think.
Yeah, particularly when loose head feels pretty locked down, right? Like
it's the two.
Unless, like you said, touching all of the wood everywhere. That like, assuming nothing happens to Manny, I find that very difficult to make an argument for anyone to start above him at this point. Yeah.
You had Sketchy was the best prop in the Six Nations, so that's a bit tough. I know what you're saying. You got two of the best around, didn't you? So But
I suppose the issue that you've got is Manny's been playing a lot more minutes and he's been playing very, very well. So it makes and also at the end of the day, if you get Manny on for 50, 60 minutes and then you bring on an international, you're not exactly doing bad in that situation, are you?
It's those two. I think Fischetti probably adds a bit more of an impact as well. I think, so I think that's a good balance between the two of them. Like you said, I think there is a difference between Fischetti in a blue jersey and in a green, black and gold jersey. Not that he's been bad for us, he's been very good for us. But you put him in a blue jersey and he becomes an absolute world beater. And maybe that's just the way they scrummage. It's a different way of doing things maybe, but I think Iogan's just been tremendous and form of his life, so it's those two, whichever way round it's a flip of a coin to some extent, but I think Iogan has got it. I mean, you then move into the talking of big people, you then move into the second row. I mean, there is an interesting point of consideration about it, but it's almost definitely Coles is going to be in the second row, and then it's Prowse or Van der Mesch, and quite honestly, I think Prowse is outplaying him tenfold at the moment. I think JJ is what he is. He's the biggest man alive, isn't he? And he in attack he adds huge impact and aggression and draws defenders in, and that opens doors. But then there's also the other side of it where, he sort of gives away a number of penalties in defence. He can be a bit of an immobile object sometimes, looking absolutely exhausted, leaning on rucks when he's chased back, sort of thing. And he's a tremendous player. I really rate him. He's what a character. But on the balance of things, I think I'd start Prowse and use Van der Mesch off the bench as an impact.
You've got to remember that Van der Mesch, I still think he's carrying that injury, isn't he? He's not been fully fit. But I totally get what you're saying. And I would say he's a great impact player. Imagine bringing him on with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Tired forwards, he'd absolutely muller all of them.
I will say in the pro JJ column, I actually thought he was so good at the weekend. I thought he looked like he was back to pre-injury sort of not like at the heights. But I mean, the try was great. He made some great runs. I mean, he really does just carry people. Like he can smash through. There was one pass, I can't think of who he offloaded it to, and I was like, it should just be a crime that fives are being allowed to do that. Like I actually thought he looked like he was getting, because he'd had that injury and then he'd played a couple of times, hadn't he? It didn't quite have the same impact, but I felt like how he played on Saturday, it felt like it was going back in the right direction. But I still think that it's not quite where it needs to be enough to knock Prowse out of the starting spot, because I also think Prowse delivers a lot more in terms of getting over the ball, protecting the ball at breakdowns, for example. Like I think he really throws himself in that aspect of the game as well. So I agree. I would still pick Prowse over JJ. Like I said, if you can use, you're really good. I'm not saying that you definitely can run Leicester ragged because they're a big physical team. But if you are running with loads of pace for 60 minutes and there is a bit of tightness in them, you bring JJ on with 20 minutes to go, Leicester are questioning their life choices at that point, surely.
I mean, yeah, in attack he's so good. Like he occupies defenders because he's so big. They have to commit numbers. He makes yards regardless. He carries with real aggression, real pace. The handling, the offloading. I mean, it's like throwing around a ping pong ball for him because he's so big. And I mean, I would not want to be for the try. I mean, I would not want to be the person that landed underneath him before he rolled over. I mean, it was so funny. He just kept rolling until he found the ground. But the poor bloke got underneath him to try and hold him up, But yeah, like I said, I think that's the balance. And I think Prowse brings an awful lot in attack as well. His hands are also exceptional for the size of player. He adds weight, and I think he's just you get more. It's the balance of impact versus volume to some extent, because Van der Mesch has huge impact when he carries the ball, when he does things, but it's probably not to the same level of volume as a Prowse would get through. But Prowse still carries the big, not as big, but the big sort of impact size. So I think it's just the balance of the sort of the net difference between the two, impact v volume, and I think at the moment I think Prowse is just playing exceptionally well and probably justifies it. The only thing I said right, it's interesting because for me, there is an answer of opinion that I have, but I think there is a question as to whether you would go Lockett in their second role and Coles at 6.
Yeah, or you got Kemeny.
So it's a question of Kemeny or Lockett.
You have Kemeny all day long.
But then you get the balance again of the two. So what are they bringing? So Lockett brings probably not as strong as Kemeny, but very good line-out option. So, if you balance it off, Kemeny's probably a little bit better, but they're both excellent. So then what do they bring around the park? Lockett brings physicality, tight running, hitting rucks, big physical presence. Kemeny brings more in the loose, more ability to get over the ball. He has the jackling ability like a 7, and he has a lot of brilliance in his in open field, and his running and his carrying game. He's nominated for trial for the season for that insane thing he did against Sale. Lockett's not going to bring that. Let's be honest, right? But he's going to bring probably double the amount of defensive tackles. So that's what I mean. It's balancing the net difference of what they all bring, the strengths they all bring. None of them really have weaknesses, or between those two at least. It's just their strengths. Which strength do you want on the pitch?
You got to remember Prowse as well. Prowse was a blooming tight head prop a couple of years ago. You're not taking that away. The man has been an absolute beast. He's been one of the best players this season. I know you've got a love him for him. You always have, but he totally deserves it. And I would actually say I agree with you. I would start him, and I'd have Kemeny at 6. You've got to have Kemeny at 6.
I think the main thing about the 6th question though is it's like for a semi-final and a final, you want everyone in their best positions, right? And Coles is 4. It is that number. I'm not saying that he couldn't do a great job at 6, because that guy could probably do a great job from anywhere at this rate. Like the guy's a freak in the best way. But I also think that I suppose the difficulty that Lockett's got is I actually thought Kemeny was so good on Saturday. I thought that guy was class all over the park. That you then have the question of can you drop him even if you are thinking about not drop him? He'd still be in the, like you said, he'd still be in the 23, wouldn't he? There's absolutely no way he wouldn't be. I suppose the issue that they have is that obviously the last time that our line out was so bad, it was against Leicester. So yeah, I suppose they will have to think about who is the best line out option. Is that necessarily Kemeny or is it Lockett? Like they'll definitely have those questions certainly. And yeah, but I think I'd still have Colsey at 4 and probably have Kemeny at 6 just because he'll run that thing in from everywhere, from anywhere at this rate, honestly. Yeah, I watched that. I watched the video of him at Sale earlier. Like, honestly, the guy's crazy, and he scored at the weekend as well, didn't he? So he's just putting an extra little tick mark in his like stock.
Yeah, he's a class player. I mean, here's the other point of difference regarding that, right? So we've said it a million times. The back row selection is all about balance, and
Yeah.
getting it. The number on the back is irrelevant. It's what they're doing on the pitch and what they're bringing to the table, right? And the yes, Kemeny was all over the place. He was everywhere against Quins, but was he everywhere and all over the place because there was an absence of another player, the chosen one? Do you need a Kemeny and a Pollock in the back row? Because
But it's is it about need or is it about want? Because I
yeah,
would
well,
love to.
yeah, but that's the thing.
Sounds
You
like
could have both, and then you could have both with a Pearson or with a Chick.
Mm,
But
yeah,
if you're going to start Chick as your solid ball carrying 8, you're not going to drop Pollock, and you're probably not going to drop Pearson. So you then have the question of, well, does Kemeny not play? Lockett not play? You
Yeah.
know, it's that
Any Pollock Pearson. That's it. Done.
Kemeny, Pollock, Pearson, yeah. But that's the point. With that balance, yeah, you have two amazing line-out jumpers and Pollock who can jump. You have immense ability around the park and challenging the breakdown. Kemeny and Pollock both brilliant over the ball. Pearson is getting better and is good at it. You have amazing ball carrying in the tight in Pearson and in Pollock. You have amazing ball carrying in the loose in Pollock and Pearson and Kemeny, to be fair. What you probably don't have is a bit of rugged sort of steel like Chick.
yeah,
Or you play Coles at 6 and then you have more of it from the second row from Lockett.
yeah.
It's an
It's hard.
incredible balance.
I think the only thing that we know for sure is that Pollock is playing in that game and he's starting. Like out of that, I would be stunned if he didn't at this point. Like I think the guy has fully got the whole like he's only an impact something off of his back at this point. Like the kid, you just need the kid from the start, especially against a team against Leicester. I know the last time out there were issues around what happened between him and some of the players, but that was coming off of the bench watching your team getting sort of smashed for 60 minutes before you come on. And I think he was probably in a very different place than what he would be if he's starting that match and he's up for it like right from the beginning. And I mean, I don't know what the 6, 7, and 8 is going to look like. I suppose the only thing is that obviously with Graham, I'm assuming not going to be able to play because of the turnaround time.
Yeah.
That your 23 is pretty set, right? Because your question would have been, is it Chick or is it Graham? And now you only have one choice in terms of who is going to feature in the 23 out of the two of them. Because I mean, it's a 7-day stand down period, isn't it? And it's a 6-day turnaround, so I can't see how. And Graham did fail, so unfortunately, that question has kind of resolved itself. They would
Yeah,
have not wanted it to, because I think Graham's been on a great run of form since coming back. But yeah, they're in a situation that it will be that lineup will feature a Pearson, a Pollock, a Kemeny, a Chick in some figuration with someone on the bench. Like that is one of those ones that it could have been debated if not for the unfortunate head injury.
yeah. I mean, the only thing I would say about, Pollock will definitely start is think of the atmosphere in a tight game when JJ and Pollock come off the bench. Could you imagine on a Friday night East Midlands Derby semi-final how loud that would be? And also, imagine being Leicester at that point. Who are they focusing on? Because if all their attention goes to Pollock, well, you made an error there because JJ will just run it up the middle off the back of a line out, won't he? And if
The
all
thing
your
is, though,
attention
is
goes to JJ, well, Pollock will run it in from 40 metres.
yeah,
Part of me thinks you just have the best bench, and you have Pollock and JJ off the bench because yes, they could have Pollock can go 80 and is an 80 player, but Kemeny, Chick, Pearson could also set up a very good platform for him to enter into.
That in my rugby brain, that would be just because Pollock's the one that everybody wants. I'm just presuming they will start him. But my rugby head would be Pearson, Kemeny, Pearson, Chick in a rugby sense for now. And like you said, with the impact off the bench for Pollock. but I can't see him not starting Pollock. You can't.
I think the issue, well, for one thing, it would be great. Like the noise would be crazy, but could you also imagine like the atmosphere if he's just running roughshod over Leicester for 80 minutes? Like if you know, because the reality is that yes, he does. His rugby like ability is like off the charts, but also you kind of want him to be on from minute one, getting in their faces. Like there's a part of me that kind of feels like that could work in our favour a little bit. But also,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, you know, if we think about the game at the weekend, but not just this 23 that played, but like consistently over the season, like our issue is still breakdown ability. And the reality is that Pollock gives you that in spades, and it's going to be such an important. Like, yeah, he'll give the odd penalty away because people don't see him releasing and things like that. But he will give the odd one away. But he's also going to get you penalties in an area of the game that we know Leicester are fiercely competitive in. And so I think just for his ability in that aspect of the game that you need him to start, because you need, like, I think we protected our ball terribly at the weekend. Like the amount of turnovers we gave away, it was like a big weakness.
Yeah.
And I just think you need someone like a Pollock in there who can either slow the ball down if it's Leicester's ball, get you a turnover, or will just help you protect it and get the ball out for, you know, our team if we happen to have possession. I think it's such a key aspect and such a positive aspect of his game, and something he's so good at, that I think you need that from minute one.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I think Pollock is he's a phenomenally over the ball, but mainly in defensive positions. In an
Yeah.
attacking scenario, he's generally an outstanding ball carrier, and therefore isn't always, you know, he's a bit more on the periphery of your rucks.
Yeah,
'Cause he's out there to receive and carry, and therefore, you know, similar to Chick. So that's why I think he often ends up at 8, because he's not really going to be first year ruck every time, because you want him as an option in your attacking back line, and therefore you need to get that balance right. And that's where, like, you know, you need a Lockett, you need a Pearson, you need a Prowse, because they're going to hit you 40 rucks a game, and give you the sort of security in your ball that you can then get it to the likes of Pollock and etc. Because you, like you said, we've seen it before against Quins. I mean, Will Evans is just a phenom in terms of the ability to get in there and get over the ball. He's the best in the league, and he definitely did a great job for them at the weekend.
Yeah, the thing is, you think as well, when do we find out who the ref is?
We know it's Luke Pearce.
It's Luke Pearce.
Is it Luke Pearce? I haven't looked. I've been at work. I've been working with him now. Oh, that's and this is not Mr. Carley. No offense, Mr. Carley. But
Well,
he seems to. What I was going to say was regarding Pollock. It started to creep in. Referees are refereeing him slightly different. We did mention this, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? And it's like, I think Luke Pearce. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I was open for him or Sarah Cox. So,
well,
I do feel though that, like, if you're going to pick a ref who's probably going to give Pollock the most slack in terms of being a bit more understanding about what can happen from both sides, Luke Pearce is probably still your best bet. Like, you know, if you have like a Carly, you feel like, well, this is just going to be a recipe for disaster. Like, you know what you mean? But if you get someone that kind of lets things go a little bit more at the breakdown, but also does understand that, yeah, sometimes Henry gets a little bit in people's faces, but other people target him also. And I think Luke Pearce is probably the best person to have in the middle for a game that is going to be feisty. Let's not lie, it's going to be.
Yeah, I think he's perfectly good, legitimate thing. And it's interesting that in the other semi-final, the referee is Christopher Ridley, and I think, you know, I said last week, I think he's slowly becoming the best ref in the league. What I'm worried about is the fact that you often see that the two refs in the semis don't do the final.
Yeah, and the issue you have is that the only person not involved in either of those fixtures, even as an AR, is Carly. So my worry is that they're already getting ready for him. So don't be surprised if he is the final ref.
Yeah, I think
doesn't mean it definitely turns out that way. For all we know, Matt Carly's on holiday this week. Maybe that's what we can hope for. But
hope he's injured.
And, we don't. We also don't know we're going to get to the final, so we can't count our chickens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's my worry about that as well.
Yeah.
If we go through the team, though, I mean, I think like the 9-10 we discussed. That's guaranteed who that's going to be, and I honestly think, as good as Wyman was, I honestly think that if, you know, Finn had played against Quins, we probably would have won. If Finn and McParland had played, just those two, we'd have probably won. Because as good as Wyman is and as good as Bellew is, their ability to grasp momentum in a game isn't at the level of Finn. I think we've seen that throughout the year. Like Finn can turn a shift the game in one moment. He knows how to just ride things out and then turn it from us defending into us attacking and keeping the pressure on. And that's like a mental, tactical thing rather than a skills thing, which both, Wyman's delivery is really good and Bellew's ability to move the ball is excellent as well, but they're just that control piece.
Yeah.
That was the issue in Quins. We just couldn't get that prolonged period. We played really well. We had prolonged periods of attack and pressure, but we didn't convert it very well. But then it switched and they had their time in the sun and we couldn't switch it back. And it wasn't anything to do with anything other than just our ability on the pitch. We talked about referees just then. I thought Craig Maxwell-Keys was excellent. I think mistakes, but mistakes happen. I thought he was brilliant. I think you always get with him, he will favour the home side, which is quite common amongst a lot of referees. But you come to expect that. But I thought he was excellent. That's beside the point. I thought he was that. It's sort of nice to have a game.
Exactly. That's why
brilliant. Yeah.
I actually was even thinking in my mind, I was like, I couldn't even, until you said it, quite remember who the ref was, which for me these days feels like a really good thing to say about a ref, if that makes sense, being like, actually, I can't quite remember who it was. They didn't do anything egregious. Was it like the most amazing performance? No, because it probably didn't have to be, did it, at the end of the day? Like nothing really happened.
Yes,
it didn't require it, so it kind of...
but if you think that I had a grand riding on it, so it really did mean something for me, and I can't even compare the referee, right? It showed that he had a good game.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right about. I suppose the thing is, like, I actually felt like Bellew had quite a good game overall, but the reality is that he's probably not going to feature in that 23. You've got other people covering, that can play 10. That you need your best players on the pitch, and I don't think he's at that level compared to like I said, some of the others. Like you said, you'll have a Ram probably, possibly involved off the bench, maybe not. But if so, like I said, you've got a Ferbs option at 10 if you need, and someone else to come on at 15. Like, he just probably isn't going to feature. But yeah, I thought, said you're right. I think the 9 and 10 both had a good game, but like you said, it's not at the level of McParland, Smith, Axis, and yeah, we know that those two are starting at the weekend. So
you got to remember that Bellew hasn't played for God knows how long. How long has he since he played? And we all know fly halves need game time to get into the game. So I didn't think he did bad considering he hadn't.
I mean, to be honest,
that's the best game he's had in a while, I think.
Yeah,
I think he played well. It's just his capacity to influence the game as well as Finn. He just isn't there. But his ability to move the ball and everything he was brilliant. Like, he really played well.
Yeah. But when you're competing against, I don't know, I'd say outside of Finn Russ, I suppose, like the 10 in the league that's sort of out and out above sort of all the others, you do have a hard job. Like I'd be surprised if Finn Smith is not England's 10 as we head into the international. So you've got, as a tough person to be competing against. And the reality is that Finn is, like you said, is like, this is nothing against Bellew, but I would say significantly ahead of him in certain areas of the game that are important to winning, the kind of fixture that we have on Friday.
Did you not remember Mr. Bellew's inclusion off the bench last derby though at home?
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's probably his best game. But he came on as fullback though, didn't he? And that was the sort of best he played all season.
Because if you remember back then to that moment, so Bellew obviously started the season and was brilliant. And he came off the bench and then got dropped in that Tigers game. Finn got put straight back in. So he hadn't played and got brought straight into the Tigers home game as his first game back for us. And we were discussing whether we would do that, whether that was the right decision or not, because of the form of Bellew being so good. Would you bring Finn back in straight into it? They did. He then came off the bench and essentially, because of the bounce of the ball, the bounce of the rugby ball, falling perfectly into his hands, won the game, didn't he? So you then fast forward to now, and it's like we've seen the full season of Bellew. We know what he can bring. We know what he's brilliant at. We know what he hasn't got to the same level of Finn, and we're agreeing that he probably doesn't make the 23. and it's an immense place to be that someone of his caliber can't get
Yeah,
in the 23.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, like though, in terms of like sort of from 11 to 15 in some of those positions, it's kind of like I said, it's 50-50 where they'll go. Like 14 will definitely be Tommy, 15 will definitely be Ferbs, but I couldn't say with any real confidence who would definitely start out of 12, 11, 12, and 13. Like,
No,
you
no,
know,
or
those
11. Yeah, yeah, no, agreed. I think like
yeah,
that's the
those are
next
hard
one, isn't it?
choices. Yeah,
Like I think from the decision, like from what we said, I think we probably agree that Wyman's played himself onto the bench. Some of his kicking, his delivery was brilliant. But you look at the centres, Litchfield was excellent again. He really was excellent. I think he's almost played himself. It's going to be him, and then you're choosing
yeah,
between
I think so.
Hutchinson and Dingers,
Dingers, I
and
think, for
you
me.
can't not pick Dingers.
No.
You can't not pick Hutchinson. So how do you get 16 players on the pitch?
Yeah, yeah,
I think it is honestly, and it's funny because I think beginning of the year, we all sort of said Primo was going to be moving into that 13 channel, and there were obviously options in terms of Todoro was playing so well, Ollie was in the mix more, before his sort of injury run, and therefore you were sort of thinking, well, it's going to be a Dingwall Freeman international level partnership and Saint level partnership. But because Freeman's almost certainly going to play on the wing now because of the options available there, Litchfield has stepped into that role and is almost like undroppable because of the extra dimension as to what he brings. And Dingwall and Hutchinson are both international players, and that shows you what Litch has achieved in a year, in the sense that he brings something that those two don't, and is brilliant.
Wasn't he voted Players Player of the Year
Yeah,
as well?
yeah,
Yeah, so that says it. In my opinion, that's the best award to get because that's your mates picking. So out of all the
and,
awards, the fans can pick, but if your players, the players that your mates who play week in week out, they voted that says it all, doesn't it?
and they recognise what he's contributing on the pitch. He's
Exactly.
making those breaks. He's doing those hard yards off the set piece. That first truck up sort of thing. And yet he's also got the ability for those outside breaks and to shove people off. And he puts in some hits and he attacks breakdowns. And yeah,
yeah.
I think it's Dingle Litchfield would be my pick
Yeah.
because
And I'd pick Rambo on the wing personally.
you then have a choice of Rambo and Hendy, yeah, don't you?
Have Hendy on the bench, he can cover fullback and wing, can't he?
Yeah, see, I think that's why I do the opposite. I think Ram is your better cover option if something was to happen. I think this isn't any like slight on Hendy because like he won us the Prem final. Like that guy will be in my good graces for like the rest of his life. But I think if you have an option where you need someone to cover 15, I would worry if it was Hendy off the bench into that position. Like obviously, again, touching all of the wood that nothing happens. But if you do have Ferbs having to move into a 10 position at any point, who do I think is a safer pair of hands? It's
Well, yeah,
probably
if Ram's on
Ram.
the wing,
I mean,
could
you
just
can move, you can swap people round. It may just come down maybe to like minutes as well. Like at this moment, Hendy has played more and is maybe more match fit. But I also think at the weekend Ram was so good, and again was another one of those players that looked like he hadn't been away with an injury for a decent chunk of time. So I don't envy that. I do not envy that choice whatsoever. That for me is probably the most difficult one they have to make in terms of what they do there.
Hendy's a bit like JJ in the sense of what he brings is pure X factor and
Yeah,
and like he can break a moment in a game, can't he? He can make stuff happen. His ability, his pace, and his physicality in attack is just like light years ahead of a lot of people. But then he also has the odd moment of slipping off a
yeah,
tackle or the ball bouncing off his face and going into touch or whatever it may be. Whereas Ram is like just so solid, so secure. But he also has those moments of magic, and his open field running is brilliant, and yeah, it's a sort of like do you back black or red, or do you go on 32 and go for the pink number? It's but Hendy has moments where he can influence the game out of nothing, and he does that more often than Ram. But yeah, then also there's a bit more risk involved. So because
yeah,
Ram
yeah.
on the wing is also exceptional under the high ball. So
I mean, I suppose if it was a straight choice between like, oh, one, the two of them, who's the better cover player? I'd say that Ram is the better cover player, but you're also probably going to have potentially Hutch on the bench, who is also a fantastic cover player as well. So maybe that features in Ram's favour in terms of, you can start Ram and it wouldn't necessarily matter because if you had to swap, you still have Hutch could also come on. Like there's so many permutations, I suppose. Like, but so we're in a position where everyone's so good and everyone has their pros and their cons that it really, like we've said before, it really comes down to like the fixture that you're playing in and who you're playing against. It is a difficult question, but they could really genuinely conceivably go with either, and they'd probably have a really good argument for both.
I think if Ram starts, to be honest with you, I think my opinion is irrelevant to some extent because I agree I would have Ram at fullback ahead of Hendy, right? But I think the club see Hendy as their second choice fullback currently and will be first choice fullback next year. So if they're going to put someone else, it would be him. I think we all think that we'd have Ram at fullback, given the option of the two. But I think if he starts on the wing and something happens to Ferbs or Finn, and they can still move Ram to fullback and bring Hendy on the wing. If
exactly,
as long as he's in the 23, and I think the 23 almost picks itself. It's just those options around who starts and who doesn't.
But I should also say, he's obviously not going to
though. Or are they going to go?
Say again.
Are they going to do a 6-2 split? Have 6 forwards because it's them in it, so they're always physical in the pack. Or are they going to go?
I think if Graham was fit, we might think about it.
Yeah,
but I don't think the option would be to maybe have like a Munger on the bench as well as either a Lockett or a JJ or whoever. Whereas I think because of who's available, they'd probably have Hutch and Ram as the two.
Yeah, and then the 9 is your.
Yeah, then bring 9 in. Yeah, I mean.
But I also just wanted to say, like, he won't feature in this one, but I kind of want to put a word in for Pater because I thought he was so good at fullback on Saturday. I thought he had a really good game, and like you said, Hendy possibly is going to be the number 1 choice for fullback next season. But you've got to feel that like Pater's probably not too far off of his heels if he gets some really good game time in some competition. He's still a couple seasons away, I think, in reality.
Here's an interesting rumour, right? So, and people have dismissed it instantly because we've been linked with James Lowe. Right. James Lowe doesn't fit the normal profile of a player that we would sign. He's not young. He's not English. I mean, he's not Irish, but he's not young. He's not English, and he's he's not a player of high potential. He's a player of high ability. So, but here's the thing: we wanted to keep Ferbs for a season. We would have had the budget to keep Ferbs for a season. That's what they offered. If they're thinking they were going to keep him for a season to then bring Pater through, what's the odds that they just they bring someone like James Lowe in for a season to cover the gap that Ferbs is leaving behind?
I mean, I saw a lot of the stuff online where everyone was like, no, we don't want him. And I always felt like sometimes I will like comment on stuff, but I thought I'm not going to because I feel like I'm disagreeing with like everyone else online. I was like, look, people will have their own opinions on him. I said, if you get him in for a season for like a Hendy and a Pater to learn from, that would be an invaluable experience.
Yeah, it's like because he's not really a fullback. He's a he's a winger. So it's a case of him coming in and that opens. We're losing Ram and we're losing Furbank, right? So it looks you end up going on maybe Tommy plays a bit more at fullback as the second choice, or Pater comes through a bit more. But at least you've got one wing.
So
Todoro could play 15. But
what's the risk? He's been very injury prone this year. Yeah, I'm not sure. Imagine him and Pollock on the field. They wouldn't. The other teams wouldn't stand a chance. They're both wind-up merchants, isn't they? Do you know what I mean?
But it was dismissed as like no, we would. It could, and the rationale was right because it doesn't fit our signing profile. But if they think they need a back 3 player for a year who's as good as Furbank, then and they've got the budget to do that because they obviously offered Furbank an extension, but not for the time he wanted. Maybe someone like James Lowe is a thought process, an option. But yeah, anyway, that could be a different thing. But I agree with the point. Pater was excellent, and he's clearly got a great future in him, hasn't he?
It's just he's a bit young and he's a bit small at the minute. He needs to beef up a little bit.
He's 18.
He's 18.
That's what I'm saying.
He's got time.
Yeah.
Not good. He's great now. I mean, like you can't rely. You wouldn't put him in as your first choice fullback, would you? Right next season.
No. I would, like I said, I agree with other people that said he's probably 2 seasons away from proper consideration for that. But like, you think about Pollock, right? When Pollock was a 17, 18-year-old, he was also a little bit on the scrawny side for the position that he plays, but his talent was like through the roof. Like, you give that in. He has sort of bulked up a bit, and I've got no doubt Pater will be able to do the same. But like, you think about the skill level he's already working with, like I said, as an 18-year-old, like, that's a really, really good prospect. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do next season, really. I still have my concerns about Hendy at fullback just because he's such a confidence player, and at the moment he's played the last 3 or whatever fixtures on the wing and has gotten some really good confidence in him, and is playing decently well. But I worry about him being the backup fullback for this fixture. But I'm sure he'll. I don't know. Maybe he'll be involved in some way. I don't know. Like I said, there are hard discussions, and next year will be even harder because, like you said, you're going to have Tadaro back from that injury, and he got supporters player of the season, and he only played half a season. You've played a good half a season when people remember how good you were in that first half. Bless him. But yeah, we've got, like you said, some really good talent next year that. Who knows what's going to happen, really? But yeah, that 11 shirt will be interesting. I think this weekend, like I said, that there's a few ways they could go, and I really genuinely wouldn't put my money on which way they were going to go because I really don't know.
We haven't actually mentioned it. We've just mentioned it today. We haven't actually mentioned that we have actually drawn the enemy in the semis. That wasn't. I wasn't even on my radar at the time. I was thinking,
I knew that was the permutation.
I wasn't even thinking about it. So I mean, Friday night under the lights against the enemy, which I do not say their name, and that's just insane. I'd rather play it now than in the final, though. I know, I think you wanted him in the final, didn't you, Charles? No, I don't think I could go. No.
I mean,
at least then you made the final. I'm always wary of them. They've beaten us too many times over too many years. At least if you play them in the final, you've made the final.
If it's worth losing the final.
I am definitely wary of them. Don't get me wrong, but. I can't deny that I'm sort of happy that Exeter won and denied Sarries that 4th spot at the end. That would have annoyed me more if that team was able to get that slot right at the end. I'd have just been so annoyed. So yeah, I'd say like your best option is not to have to play Tigers at all. But like you said, your second best option is to play them in the semi rather than a final. And haven't lost at home all season. There's still got to be a level of confidence. Like Friday Night Lights seem to bring out. I wish the final could be on a Friday because it seems to just bring out this kind of like Manny was right when we had him on. It's like a magic that you just cannot explain about what we're able to do under the Friday Night Lights. But yeah, they're probably the team out of that 4 or the other 3, probably the team I wanted the least, like in the semi-final. But it is what it is, and I think both those games are going to be really good matchups because like outside of ours, like even Bath and Exeter, like. Bath haven't been amazing form-wise, and Exeter, I'd say, probably played the best out of those teams over the weekend. Like they were really good against Sarries, so that's also going to be a really tasty matchup. Like it's one of those weird things where I suppose statistically the home sides are most likely, not definitive, but most likely to get through. But I wouldn't be surprised at upsets in either or both of those fixtures, to be honest.
Yeah, Tigers are the team that I'm worried about the most in terms of ability and form and the emotions and whatever. Sarries are the team I would least like to have played in the semi-final because for lots of reasons, but also the experience they've got in those roles, in those semi-finals, etc. The emotional McCall, I'm glad it's not there. They would be the least, but the most team I'm worried about because they're actually very good. Is Tigers, and that's why playing them in the semi-final, I guess, is at home is probably your best chance of beating them, and therefore probably the best option. I'd rather they played Bath and Bath beat them, but
for sure. Yeah. Definitely, yeah, yeah. No, that's yeah.
So I think we've sort of gone through it, but I think I'll put the team out that I think we've got to, and you can shoot me down, but I think it's Ayogan, Landon, Kundiona, Coles, Prowse, Kemeny, Pearson, Pollock, McParland, Finn, Dingers, Litchfield, Freeman, Furbank, and Hendy.
Anyone, I'd just swap Ram for Hendy. Just this is last game.
I would still keep Hendy just because of minutes, and he's playing quite confidently at the moment. But like I said, I totally understand the argument for Ram at the same time, like 100%.
I think we'll be wrong at tight end. And
Yeah,
part of me thinks the back row won't be that. I think the balance of it all, they might do something different.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah.
Chick's a good leader as well, isn't he? So that's another thing.
I mean, you just need him for his 50-22 ability. That gets him on the bench on its own. So
I don't know who you drop. I just really don't.
Yeah,
in the
tough.
back row / second row and centres, it's so much form, so much talent. It's
that's what I mean. We've said it before, right? Like, these are the headaches you want to have. If you're a coach and you don't have these headaches, you've got an issue with your wider squad, right? Like, we definitely don't. Like, there are some positions that are definitely like locked down, but the fact that we're questioning the back row, the second row, tight head, we're questioning who might play on the wing and what the centre partnership might look like, just tells you how many really sensational players we have vying for spots right now. Like, I'd rather have that than not.
Yeah, I think when you're building a squad as well, you look at the real attritional positions and you think, right, over the course of a season, where do you need the depth of talent, because you're going to have injuries and it's going to be attritional. And you look at the back row and you look at the centres, and we've got so much depth in those. But then also I would say, and I'm again touching wood, but we have been, other than Graham, we've been relatively strong in terms of actually keeping players fit. And that might be because we've got so many, but they've rested and rotated, done a really good job in doing that. But you're going into a final where, other than Graham, you've got really talented options in the back row that could all do a job. I mean, the centres, Toby Tame was excellent against Quin's. He's been so excellent good when he's played, and he's not even in consideration because of the talent ahead of him. The talent in the centres, talent in the back row in our squad is probably the reason why we finished top, because the ability to go again every week with them is just been immense.
I mean, we also have the ability as well that, like, because you've got so much talent and depth in some of those spots, that you can pick a team depending on the opponent, right? Like, you actually have the ability to go, right, we've got options. What is the best option for this specific opponent? And like, every team would love to have that as like a reality, right? That actually your rest and rotation isn't just necessarily about, right, we've really got to rest this person because of minutes and what do we do? We actually do have the thing of, actually, we don't need this player this week because this player is playing really well and they are really well suited to this opposition. So, the fact that the club are able to factor that in is, at the end of the day, just like a super positive place to be.
And that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Coles at 6, or maybe Pearson at 6 and Chick at 8. So, like, just because of the opposition, the physicality of Tigers, I won't be surprised to see us go with a physical back.
100%. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we get on to prediction. So last week, nothing happened. So me to go first this week. I'm gonna call it a bit tighter than it has been. I'm gonna go 26-21, and I mean, I'm picking Freeman.
And that's fair.
Go on, Jess.
So we ain't gonna score.
I'm gonna go.
Last time I picked Freeman and he didn't score. I think we scored 25 tries or something stupid, and he was on the back of the pitch. Yeah.
He didn't. And he set everyone else up except himself. I'm gonna go 28-26. Who shall I pick? Screw it. Let's have the chosen one.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be all.
Well,
I think he's going to be all over him.
32-27.
Look, it could be anyone. Let's be honest.
27.
And I'll go McFarlane then.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, our scrum half scoring is, I think, statistically the right decision, because we're the best starters in the league, and I think when you look at the volume of tries scored by our scrum half, it's actually quite a lot. But anyway,
and let's say as well, like, to finish, like, what did we broke the Prem record, did we not, for most tries scored by a team in a single season? And was it not Wyman that got us over the number? So it's always a 9.
Well, it
A
was because
9
he
is
scored
always
the
a loss.
first try, so we were the first
Yeah.
team to score 100 tries in a regular season.
Yeah.
But we actually finished on 104 because we scored 5 tries in the fixture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a 9. It was a 9 that got us the record.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
original record. So yeah, it just kind of backs that up really.
yeah. No, McParland scored quite a few. Mitchell's obviously scored quite a few. Our nines are
Yeah.
fair off, but like we're not condoning gambling. We don't. There's no guarantees. Capital is at risk.
The only
But,
win, the only win is the bookie. That's what my dad always has said.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on the basis of this season, that's not the case for me. But you know,
You're not
you
helping.
know,
You're not helping here. These adverts try to stop gambling. And his child's like, yeah, just do this.
well, they don't do it for the love of the game, do they? Like you say, they're in it for the money and just as much as anything. So they wouldn't do it if it was loss making. But anyway, yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. That's been a really interesting chat. And I mean, what a game we've got this Friday night. I mean, they don't come any bigger than this. And all I can say is, I mean, obviously all of us have watched Saints for years. Simon for longer than most of us. These games aren't a guaranteed every year. You know, we've got to. You have to make the most.
Let me just interject there. I am only 44. I have been going 40 years. You know, the way he says it is like I've been going for hundreds of years.
Yeah, but you know, in 4 decades of watching, how many semi-finals have you seen? You know,
Yeah, no, I know.
It's a rare occurrence that we get them at the ground. It seems like at the moment they're going to be coming every year, but that's not how it works. You know, you have your ups and downs. So anyone go and please enjoy and really make the most of the game and get behind it, because 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that game against Leicester in the semi-final was still one of the greatest moments of supporting Saints, right? So, and that's 10 to 11 years later. Say again.
We need the wood moment.
Well, hopefully we're well in advance by that point, and we're 20 points clear.
Yeah.
You know, I doubt it heavily.
Yeah, they should get him in though. Get him in to do the team talk, like my mum said. She's like, you need a Tom Wood team talk of like, this is what I did, 12 years ago now.
No Celeste punching though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you think who would be doing it now, it's probably Pollock in it, so it's probably not got quite the weight behind it, has it?
No,
not that he throws punches, obviously, but yeah, we don't condone violence either, although we enjoy watching it. Anyway, thanks for listening. Please remember to follow us on all the socials and subscribe on the platform where you get your podcast from. I've been Charles, Jess has been Jess, Simon's been Simon. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.